Hello, and welcome to another episode of Search Off the Record, a podcast coming to you from the Google Search team, discussing all things search and maybe having some fun along the way. My name is John. I'm joined today by Lizzi from the Search Relations team, of which I'm also part of. And today we have a special guest joining us, Irina. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
So, Irina, can you give us a little bit of background about yourself?
I joined Google 18 years ago, 18
Whoa.
and a half, after I finished my PhD at ETH Zurich. I worked on various projects at the beginning. I also worked in Mountain View for a year, after which I came back. So after 4 years, I joined the infrastructure team here in Zurich, where I met John.
Search infrastructure or like building infrastructure? Like what kind?
Building the search infrastructure.
Mhm.
We were seated on the same floor. We had many coffee and lunch breaks together. And after 6 years in search, I moved to shopping, and I've been working on shopping for the last 8 years.
What brought you from infrastructure to shopping?
I wanted to learn a different search infrastructure, so to say,
Mhm.
and shopping was a good opportunity. I had a big team here in Zurich.
So cool. Yeah, it's been such a long time. I didn't realize it went back that far, but
We just won't think about that. So she's more senior than you.
oh my gosh.
Is this
Okay.
true?
In that case.
I think so.
In terms of
In terms of being at Google.
okay,
Yes.
yeah.
I
We
mean,
won't
it's-
say the other number. I don't want to know. It's rude to ask.
Well, I remember I met John first, and then after a while, Gary joined,
Mhm.
and then
It went downhill from there. Yeah.
Yes.
No.
That's why he's not here on this episode.
No.
If you're listening,
No.
come join us for a coffee.
No, it's been fantastic, and I think the work that I recall you were working on with regards to search infrastructure, that was something that was used very regularly, like trying to understand what was happening in search, to understand
Yeah.
things like which URL is canonical and
exactly.
all
Okay.
of those details. That was really interesting.
Back
Good.
then, I worked on the debugging infrastructure for the search pipelines.
Mhm.
Initially, was the web search, and then the private data search, so Gmail, photos, and so on, which was a different kind of challenge set. Yeah, I definitely enjoy it. And the shopping search area, it's also very different challenges, although some things are the same. Some
Like canonical,
challenges.
or you still have things
You have
that will
spam
crop
in
up.
web, you have spam in shopping.
Spam in your inbox.
Spam in your inbox,
Uh-huh.
exactly. Quality, data quality issues, they're in both places. Yeah, same challenges to some extent.
Cool. Well, we're here to talk about shopping today. So
Are we going shopping?
we're going shopping.
For what?
I guess we could, but maybe after the recording,
Shopping spree. Okay.
shopping spree afterwards.
Do you get shopping related questions often?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
I think particularly after launches, I see them crop up because people are reading everything very closely. So after the variants launch or the shipping and returns and Search Console
Yep.
launch, then we get more questions right after that. But I don't know if you see things differently, John. Like in office hours, are people always asking sort of e-commerce and shopping? Are they the same thing?
E-commerce and shopping, I think. I don't know.
I think there are synonyms, but
We
It's all
usually use shopping.
involved around
yeah,
like buying
exactly.
something,
We
making a
don't-
purchase.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
We just use shopping.
Cool. So where can I show up if I set up my shopping things? Like I have set up a new site where I want to sell, I don't know,
Gelato.
gelato.
Online delivery of
I-
gelato.
I think gelato would be a bad product to sell online unless it's
Okay, but
freeze-dried gelato.
what if it's like, astronaut food, this kind of
Astronaut
thing,
food. Yeah. It's
for
like,
camping, for hiking, so you can take it with you and then rehydrate your gelato. Or a gelato base, so for people who are going to be making it at home, maybe you're shipping some kind of
I was thinking more like bicycle parts.
Okay, fine. Fine.
Okay.
That's a good
Bicycle
one.
parts.
Bicycle.
Okay,
Yeah.
all
yeah.
right.
Okay, so bicycle
yeah.
parts. I'm trying to sell some bicycle parts. And
You want to show up on the...
where can I show up?
Well, I think to answer that question, I first have to quickly explain where the results for a shopping query will show up.
Mhm.
And the shopping results can be provided by the web search infrastructure or the shopping search infrastructure. So if you have a popular website, you'll probably show up on Google search on the .com. And if you added schema.org markup to your web page, then you could show up as a product snippet. So the rich snippets part will use most probably the price information that you are providing, because rich snippets will show, for that kind of a bike, we found these results and the price range is between X and Y.
Mhm.
And your product will show up there. Or it can also be part of the blue links that are annotated with product information. So you might also show up there. So blue link that will refer to your website.
Okay, so blue link would be a normal search result.
Yes.
Okay.
Now the shopping infrastructure has a interface, which is the Merchant Center UI, that will allow you as a merchant to sign up there, open an account, and you can specify a feed for Google.
Mhm.
So you can specify your inventory there. You can upload your feed when you need to. There is another feature that we have is to say, well, this is my website. Please auto-feed the whole information you will find. And we rely on a so-called crawl feature. We go and crawl your web page and extract all the products we find, including the ones that are not in your feed. So yeah.
So this is like the easiest method without having to annotate anything.
Exactly.
No schema.org,
Yeah.
no feed. Just
Well, in order for this to work, you have to have a schema.org markup on the Google search results page.
okay.
Okay.
For shopping, price availability are very important signals, because we also want to have the newest data, the latest price you have. There are actually two ways to get your data into shopping infrastructure. One is by having merchants pushing their data using Merchant Center, and the other way is for us to pull the data from the web. In the first case, by using Merchant Center, the merchants can specify their feed and they have better control of how often their data will be refreshed. They can do the refreshing themselves by either uploading manually or using the Feeds API for their inventory. There is another setting in Merchant Center that will allow the merchants to specify on a feed basis how often they want Google to refresh that feed. And that can be daily, weekly, or monthly. This is, again, done on a per feed basis. The other option we have in Merchant Center is to allow the merchants to do the automatic item uploads. And this is a feature that merchants can use to do product level updates, and they can specify key attributes of their products that they want to be refreshed. They cannot specify how often they want them to be refreshed, but given our crawl budget, we will update the information more often than on a daily basis.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the help you get from the Merchant Center sign up. The other nice thing that comes with this is you will be able to check the performance of your products, see how many clicks and impressions you get. You also get optimization suggestions for your products and markup. So there are a couple of things that come with it. Now, in this way, you can be sure that your products will be on Google.
Okay.
So the data that you feed into the shopping infrastructure will also show on the search on the main.com page as product results. If a user enters a shopping query, you will see a carousel. So your product will also be part of that carousel.
And is a shopping query defined by, like, I want to buy this thing?
Exactly.
It's some kind of intent that I'm trying to make a purchase?
We detect if it's a product.
Or what if I'm doing research of trying to compare different bike models?
Yeah,
I want to read reviews or something like this. Is that still also considered a shopping query?
Yeah.
Shopping intent?
Apparel, it's another example of shopping queries. Hard goods. These are nice because if you look for laptops or so, you can also trigger the shopping results for it.
Just when you're in the research stage, this is still considered part of like a shopping journey. Or
exactly.
You're probably intending to make a purchase at one point.
Yeah. So these results are returned by the shopping infrastructure.
Okay.
Yeah, then you'll also see, so some of this data it's also surfaced by the popular products. This that will show on the mobile app, so Google Mobile, where you see, okay, this is a product and these are the merchants that are selling it. We call them merchant listings, and you might be among the top ones that are selling the product.
Oh, okay. So if John is carrying a particular bike model, but it's my shop that I have called LizziesBikes.com, then we can be showing up in the same results that you could buy from John's store or from Lizzie's store.
Exactly. Okay. Exactly. Yeah.
Interesting.
So basically, the basis should be schema.org markup on your pages, and you can expand that with Merchant Center, or could you go directly to Merchant Center feeds and say, I have a really old website that I can't add structured data to?
So you can go to the Merchant Center feed. If you don't have the schema.org markup on your page, we'll probably stick to the inventory that you specify in your feed specification.
Okay, so then I probably need to keep updating my feed every time I add a new product page. It's not going to necessarily automatically get added.
But if you have schema.org, we can markup, we can crawl it, and you can get that for free. And this is regardless if you have a ads campaign or not. So it's for both shopping ads and free listings, we call them.
Okay. Cool. So is there any preference with regards to schema.org or the feed, or is it more whatever is easier?
Preference from like Google or from
Google,
like a site owner perspective?
Well, it's like, how can I get the most out of my site?
We recommend doing both. Because as I said, in signing up on the Merchant Center UI, you make sure some of your inventory, the one that you specify, will be in the shopping results, and you can make sure you'll be on .com, on the shopping tab, and image tab. And then if you specify how often you want us to refresh your data, then you can be sure that information will be refreshed. Otherwise, you don't know when we will have the resources to recrawl you and update that information. Okay.
That sounds cool. It sounds a bit like Search Console, but for shopping sites. Is that a simplification?
But now Merchant Center is in Search Console.
Oh, it's like they're connected now.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I see a future merger coming. I have no idea. I'm just making things up. I'm just making things up. Please don't expect that Google is like pre-announcing anything. I have no idea. But it sounds like as an e-commerce site, you should be, on the one hand, doing the structured data on your site, be correctly verified in Search Console, and also Merchant Center to make sure that you have all of the data, all of the settings.
Yes, there is one more thing to mention to this point. So the schema.org is the open source markup that we are using, which is actually the search the API into search, right? The way to specify the content of your page and so on. And this is open source, and it's driven by Google, but it's used by some other big companies, right? For specifying the feed in Merchant Center, we are using a different data format, and this is called feed spec, or the feeds.
Product data specification,
Exactly.
the official terminology,
product
but I
data
think
specification.
verbally we just say feeds.
And it was designed to be used by Google in such a way that we can return the best search results for the shopping queries. It started initially as a flat hierarchy, just key value pairs. The schema.org format, on the other hand, it's used by a couple of other big players as well.
So why don't these two things match? That I feel like is something. Maybe is it a historical reason that I don't know, a team was working to develop one aspect, and so one thing has more attributes that you can specify than the other one, and there's not one-to-one parity at the moment.
Yeah, the attributes overlap to a big extent, but there are still gaps that exist, and we will want to address those gaps. There are a couple of checks that shopping does on these product specifications that are easier with the feed spec format. We do some cardinality checks, for instance. We do length checks and so on. So the feed spec data format is pretty flat, whereas the schema.org, it's hierarchical. In schema.org, you can specify a relationship between different pages, for instance.
Okay. So, for example, if I have shirts that are coming in different sizes and colors and
it's easier.
Variants.
Yeah, you can point to the main product group in schema.org, and it's a bit more difficult to do that in feed spec.
In feed spec. Okay. So if you want one that is more flexible and you can specify relationships across
schema.org,
schema.org is the way to go, just from technically how it works.
Yeah.
Okay. So one question that I've gotten a few times is someone saying the price that they have for a product hasn't updated in search based on what they have on their page. It sounds like that might be an opportunity for someone to use Merchant Center, the feeds, to update that.
Exactly. And then they can specify how often that information has to be refreshed.
Okay.
I would think like a downside to providing multiple ways is that there could be a conflict, though, and maybe more debugging problems or trying to track down what is the thing that is causing the price to show up.
Exactly.
Not how I want.
This was the main motivation for us to extend Search Console with the new merchant listing report. So what we actually do in this new report, we do the shopping checks on the schema.org markup and show the users if you have to fix this and these problems in order for your website to show in the shopping results. These are the additional checks that we do in shopping and we surface on Search Console.
Is there a way for us to notify people if there's a mismatch in the price, to point them in the right direction, that like, hey, this is the area where maybe you are having a problem in terms of the price? Because I feel like this is one aspect where you might need to check for the price. Maybe you're providing a different one. One is stale, for example, in the feed that you uploaded, and it's not matching what's on your website now. Is that something that Google could notify you, like, hey, this is actually where the problem is, or like, maybe you should look at this, you have a mismatch?
It sounds like a feature request.
Well.
For Lizzie's, maybe Lizzie's bikes should just submit something that is consistent. But
what if I don't know? It's hard for me to find out which thing is the thing that's still hanging out that's stale.
Yeah, this is a good question for the shopping data quality team.
Okay.
So if users want to get a deep dive into that area, I think you can invite people from that team. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Because, that's a valid question. I did specify the markup on my page is good, passes the shopping checks, it looks okay in the Search Console, but doesn't show up on the main
Or I still
results.
see the price is wrong
Might
still
be
in search results.
because the price is wrong, we don't show it.
Okay.
Yeah, so that might be a data quality issue. It might be a policy issue, because as in search, we also have checks for policy. Are you selling counterfeit, or are you selling over-the-counter medicine? Or we also do those checks. So if you do that, we don't show you in the shopping search results. It might be also quota or problem, because we would like to crawl everything, but we cannot, right? Like in search.
So like a delay.
Yeah.
So maybe the price is updated, but you just haven't come to crawl
exactly.
my page yet.
Yeah.
Like a crawl budget
Exactly.
issue. Like if you have a very large site. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So we have the same issues.
Cool. And the shopping policies that you mentioned, I assume those are documented publicly?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that they vary by country because different regions have different policies
alcohol,
on these specific things.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Fascinating. Okay. I hope bicycle parts are available globally.
It depends on how you set up your site, I guess. Are you going to ship your tires to other countries or not?
Speaking of that, there is an upcoming regulation. I think it's called the right to be repaired or something like that.
Oh, okay.
And then every part will get a GTIN, and you can sell them and replace them. Yeah, we start usually in the US and then roll out region by region. So you might be in a region where we haven't rolled out the new feature yet. Europe takes a bit longer because of the regulations.
That is a common question that I get is, why can't I trigger this thing? Like, you made an announcement on the blog. Where is it?
Exactly.
And sometimes we are not publishing the list of countries yet.
Yeah.
But I guess, I mean, I've seen that across all kinds of features. I think the issue with handling different countries or regions differently, that's kind of normal and almost to be expected. Cool. Can you share some details about some of the ongoing projects that you've been working on?
Sure. So we have been working on adding and crawling merchant level information and add from schema.org markup. And we are surfacing this information on the merchant knowledge panel, which is displayed on the Google main result page. The goal of the knowledge panel is to help businesses build trust with users. So the customers can see information about the merchant directly on the Google web page, like phone number, contact information, physical address, online presence, and of course the name of the business, the logo, and reviews for that merchant. We are extending the organization type of the schema.org markup to include more information like shipping and returns. And loyalty is the next information, the next program that we want to add. This is not only for merchants, but all organizations. Of course, we are also going to extend the merchant listing report in Search Console to include all the shopping validations we run on these new data fields so that the merchants can surface this information on the merchant knowledge panel.
That sounds fascinating. Sounds like lots of things are still in progress.
Yeah.
You would think like selling things online is a solved problem, but lots of details involved. Wow.
Exactly. The other area where we put a lot of effort into is to close the gap between schema.org and FeedSpec. We want to have full, one-on-one parity between the attributes, and we are working on closing that gap. Yeah.
And if people want to watch what's happening there, would they subscribe to schema.org, blog posts there, or is that something that we would post on the Search Central website?
I think posting on Search Central website, it's definitely gonna help. Mm-hmm. The schema.org effort has a pretty active community on GitHub, and this is the place where we also get the feedback from. So we do our updates usually there and some other forums. Yes.
So cool.
And the process for that, is that something, because it's open source, that you sort of give people a preview before it happens?
Yeah, we ask for feedback.
If they want to see this thing like before it is actually live or rolled out, then
exactly.
maybe they should follow there.
I can give you another a recent example, we recently launched variants, and we needed to first add support for variants in schema.org. And for that, we had a lot of discussions with the community, got their feedback. So once we agreed on a solution for schema.org, we worked with infrastructure team to implement the changes on that side. That meant generating separate products or offers from this markup, so individual offers. And then Search had to do the changes in rich snippets to get these individual products into this rich snippet summary. Then the other step where I was involved a lot was to extend the Search Console report with additional checks for variants, so we can show the developers how to fix their markup to be variant compliant. And then, the last part, communicating the changes, documenting the new markup.
We have to tell people about it, that it's now supported, how to do it.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. Then once all these steps are done, we watch for issues, bugs. People will implement it.
They will try it and then see, can I trigger the rich results?
Exactly.
And then they will notify us if something isn't happening the way that we said it was going to happen, which is very useful for us, I think.
Yeah. So this project took probably a year, a bit longer. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Was this the most complex launch that you've worked on from shopping, from like an ecosystem perspective?
Yeah, probably the number of teams involved was the largest.
Cool. Wow. Okay. Lots of complex stuff. Cool.
There is one more thing, probably.
One short more thing. Okay.
Well, to motivate the e-commerce community to implement the markup, right? We also want to show them the performance of their products on Google, right? So we also worked on reporting the impression and clicks they get on their products on .com, on image search, and so on. So that also required changes in our reporting.
And this is the overlay where you can see the impressions overlaid within the merchant listing report to see like when you've resolved the errors for your markup, that ideally then you see your impressions increasing because now they're eligible.
Fantastic. Wow. That's a lot of details for this episode. Thanks a lot for joining us, Irina. If folks want to reach out to you directly, where would be a place?
I am available on LinkedIn, Irina Tuduce. As simple as that.
And we'll put the link in our description for this episode so people can click it and we don't have to verbally spell it out.
Cool.
Linking.
Verbally link. Well, voice search. It's like maybe voice links are the next thing. I don't know. We'll find out next episode. Or
John.
I kept props. Okay. Anyway, thank you all for listening. Thank you for joining us here.
Thank you for inviting me.
It's been fantastic. Thank you and goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
We've been having fun with these podcast episodes, and I hope you, the listener, have been finding them both entertaining and insightful as well. Feel free to drop me a note on Twitter or chat with us at one of the next events that we go to if you have any thoughts. And, of course, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you, and goodbye.